Folks, this is Daniel Garza, and welcome to another episode of Put It Together. Today, we have a little combo going on. Not only are we recording the podcast for you guys to listen on TuneIn, iTunes, and Stitcher, but we're also doing this for the YouTube channel. So, any mistakes, anything we talk about, you guys are able to see it on the YouTube channel too. We already started. I want to start by thanking my producers, Mr. Kevin Morris and Mr. Cam Carson. As usual, guys, thank you for all your support and your help. And we're gearing down to the 100 episodes, so this is why we're starting here at Put It Together something new. Not only can you listen to us, but you can watch some of the behind-the-scenes stuff that goes on. Today, we're going to make a dessert for you guys. This is what we're going to talk about. Andrea, I guess Andrea, you see her here. Now, I guess because we're on video, I have to introduce you sooner because they can see you. But she's been on Corazón en la Mano. Now, for those of you guys who follow us, who follow me, you know that Corazón en la Mano and Put It Together come out on Wednesdays. She was on Corazón en la Mano and she came on board to talk about nutrition in the Latin and Hispanic communities. Well, I thought it would be really cool for her to come over and make some special treat for us. Something that, something sweet, a little alternative to the regular standard stuff that we have.
A nice alternative.
But I was a little confused because we have some really cool stuff. We have cocoa powder and maple syrup and cool chocolate chips. But then we have black beans. So you threw me off with the black beans. So right from the beginning, tell us how you put it together and a little bit about your background.
Okay. Well, the putting together this is actually really easy. We'll show you really quick. But I came across this particular recipe. I was looking for a way to lower my carb intake, a way to increase my fiber and my protein intake, and it's a good alternative for the people who have different health issues.
Okay.
So you just
Now, well, before we really get into it, because you tell me that this recipe is super quick, and one of my goofs was I brought a mixing bowl into the, but you tell me that we don't need a mixing bowl. Okay, so you say that's really quick, but there was a reason. Remember when we met? Well, we met a long time ago first doing promotional work.
Yes.
And then I hadn't seen you for a long time. Then we bumped into each other again a while back. Probably like, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago?
Yeah, about a month, I think.
And you were telling me something, you were talking about nutrition and your background, which totally threw me off guard. Because not only is she pretty, guys, but she's smart too. So.
I have my bachelor's in biochemistry, and I'm working on my master's in nutritional science.
Wow. For those dummies, can you tell us a little bit more about what that entails and what?
Well, I know the weird chemicals that you read and that you don't know how to pronounce.
Right.
I'm very familiar with those, and I know how they work. And now I got into nutrition just because of my family, and my family were starting to come across different illnesses,
right.
And I completely submerged myself in that, and I fell in love with nutrition.
So, just to tell the folks out there, and we talked about this on Corazón en la Mano, your background, you're Peruvians. Right?
Oh, I'm Peruvian.
Right.
Yes.
Now, we kind of talked about it a little bit on Corazón en la Mano, how the region or your background where you come makes a difference in the way food affects you and different health issues?
Not only does your DNA make a difference in the way that your body breaks down different foods, but also our culture has a big influence on the type of food that you actually eat and what lifestyle you have.
Okay. So what are some of the standard stuff that, for instance, before this transition that you guys made, what were some of the typical things that you guys would eat at home that you said, oh no, we're going to stop eating that?
Rice and potatoes were the main part of our meal. Rice and potato, rice and potato, rice and potato on everything.
Yeah.
And then what varied was chicken or beef. And now we went from regular rice to brown rice. And we've gone from regular potato to actually sweet potato because it's a better alternative.
I'm not a big fan of the sweet potato, so you're going to have to convince me on that one. But definitely in my house, we grew up, for anybody who's also Mexican, you know that carne con salsa, rice and beans is like a standard with the flour tortillas on the side. And I mean, that's pretty much
and
a standard.
Oil.
Yes. And of course, if you're a child of the 70s like I am, there was always that big jar of Crisco sitting right in the middle of the stove that your mom used. Don't lie if you're watching because you know it's true. Everything had lard in it somehow.
Lard or vegetable oil or corn oil. That's usually what our whether.
Hold on a second. Pause it for a second, please. Technical difficulties because this is our first run, so please be generous in your comments and critiques. Don't crucify us just yet. So we were talking about the difference that the DNA makes and how food affects everybody. So in your family, I remember you told me that in your family was a big fighting against making those changes in your menu.
Yes, it's been it was very difficult at first to change from regular white rice to brown rice, and also the oil that we used has also been very difficult to go from one to the other. And potatoes weren't too bad. They were okay with the potatoes because we love sweet potatoes as well.
All right. So I'm trying to remember some of the conversations that we had that day because there were so many details. Just the changing of the meals. There's different ingredients you can alternate.
It's just small substitutions. You don't have to go from eating, what's your favorite meal?
Tacos. I'm a taco,
okay.
Carnitas.
You don't have to stop eating tacos.
Okay.
When you make them here, at home, there's small substitutions that you can make that will make a huge difference in the way that your body processes the food.
Okay.
So it's not like, don't eat any more, guys, don't eat any more tacos. No, it's not that at all. It's just, instead of cooking with either corn oil or vegetable oil, you can just use coconut oil.
All right, well, let's start talking about some of these ingredients, because some of this stuff I had at home already. Like, of course, the salt, I had the vanilla, I had the maple syrup, and the oatmeal.
Quick oats.
So those are quick oats. And this stuff I already had in my pantry, so I kind of saved money on that. Of course, baking powder, if you're a baker, you're going to have that in your pantry. We got this chocolate powder. If you don't have it, now I commented, I was like, I have some of that quick chocolate powder, and you made that face.
No, it's
Why?
not a good alternative. Well, because the quick chocolate milk powder that you have, it's so processed. There's so little actual chocolate in it, cocoa or cacao, whichever your preference is, and it has so much sugar. This is unsweetened.
Okay. So
what you have in your whatever mix that you have is sweetened already, and then on top of that, you're gonna put more sugar.
So we want to thank the guys that was Trader Joe's. That's where we got this one at. Just in case you're listening, guys. Also, Trader Joe's coconut oil. I've had coconut cream pie. I've had coconut water. I've had real coconut and cookies or whatever. Mm-hmm. I had never heard of coconut oil because you haven't seen this. I'm real Mexicano, so I'm used to using the good old, canola oil or vegetable oil. How can I be convinced to use coconut oil in my cooking?
Okay. The flavor, it does have a slight coconut flavor.
Okay.
But it's not so much that your food's flavor is going to change completely. However, it really depends on what your preference is. Coconut oil and olive oil, I will say they're both a go. But what they have that vegetable oil and corn oil doesn't is your body will break this down way faster and way easier than vegetable oil or corn oil, and it won't. The problem with the other oils is they won't get broken down.
Okay.
And if it doesn't get broken down, what happens? It turns into fat.
Okay.
So it turns into fat in your body, which none of us want fat in certain areas.
Especially after 42.
And also your arteries will definitely thank you for that.
Because I'm going to read to you guys all the ingredients in this jar of coconut oil. Now, ingredients. Organic virgin coconut oil. Contains coconut. That's it. That's all it has in there.
That's it.
And if you get a bottle of regular oil, which our PA is getting for me, so we can read it.
It has canola oil and contains 69% of your daily oil value. So you have a little bit of this, and you are pretty much meeting all of your oil needs of the day.
We have another little.
Dios.
So for those of you guys listening and not watching, what we're doing right now is looking through the ingredients and the nutritional facts on some of these packages. And we're looking at, not to throw them under the bus, but we're looking at a bottle of Wesson and just a standard generic vegetable oil. But there's only 120 calories per serving on this coconut oil. Total fats is 14 grams, which is no cholesterol, no sodium, no carbohydrates, no protein, but
it's mainly the fat that you want to look at.
It's the fat that we're looking at, so total.
And it's not the total fat, it's the type of fat that it has. Because the problem with this is that the chain of one molecule is a very long chain. So it takes more energy and more time for your body to break this down than it will take for your body to break this down. So this has these are short chained molecules, and this is a long chain molecule.
Okay.
So this, if it's long, you don't want it because it won't break down.
Okay.
And it will turn into fat. Not only, around certain problem areas, but also your arteries. We're more worried about your arteries.
Now, just for, not to totally put down the oil companies, but is there any situations where you do or you can use oil like that?
Me personally, no.
Okay.
Like if you don't, coconut oil is more expensive than your regular oil. So if you don't want to go the coconut oil route, you can do olive oil.
Okay. So you can substitute everything. Like for those of us that like to make like crispy tortillas.
Yeah, you just use olive oil.
You don't want to use the coconut oil for that.
Coconut oil. No.
Okay. Now we also, our PA here, thank you Angie, got us the Nesquik, which is really good with milk. I'm not a big milk drinker, but this is actually really good. So now she's saying no. Which, for all of you guys out there, she threatened to come through my pantries today, and I said, no, don't go through my pantries yet. Still have a lot of stuff. Can you use this for the same?
Yes.
For those of you listening, yes. Can you use the cocoa powder instead of the Quick for chocolate milk?
Please use this instead.
Is it going to give you the same sweetness?
No. It won't give you the same sweetness because it doesn't have sugar.
Okay.
Which you can, if you want sweetener, you can add raw honey, you can add sugar, because regular sugar is still better than this. Because this has, I want to say 15 ingredients.
The Quick, okay.
This has 1.
Pretty much?
That has 1.
Yes, okay. So now what you're seeing, guys, and what we're figuring out as we're going along, is that most of these ingredients are just natural. It's just the natural ingredient, and there's nothing added to it. There's no extra flavorings needed, no extra colorings.
There's no fillers, no chemicals. There's no extra preservatives that are added because even our body will not break down a lot of that stuff.
All right, cool. So can we start putting this together then? All right.
Open up the blender. All right, so first we have 1 can of black beans. And make sure you rinse them out. When you take them out of the can, make sure you rinse them out really, really good. Then we will do the quick oats. So it's half cup of quick oats.
Cool. And these I had a bag of flavored ones. Can you use flavored oats, or does it have to be natural, non-flavored stuff?
I mean, if you have like maple vanilla, you can. It's just, you gotta make sure that what you're using will go along with all the other flavors. Because if you have like apple, like the apple spice, you don't want to add it to this. It won't. Apple spice brownies.
It won't mesh well.
No, I'm not. I mean, you can try it.
I can try it. You can experiment at home.
You can try it and let us know how it works out. Then we got half a cup of maple syrup. And you can either use maple syrup, or I personally use raw honey at home. I like the flavor of it better.
Now, when it comes to honey, does it really matter what kind of honey you get?
It needs to be raw.
Raw?
Yes, because if you just buy regular honey, it's processed so much, and so much of the actual honey and the great properties of it are taken out through the process section. And then on top of that, they add sweetener because they just completely...
So the difference between going to your farmer's market and getting the honey or getting that little bear honey at the store?
No.
Don't get the bear.
Raw honey has a lot of antiviral and antibacterial properties.
Okay.
And when you get the little bear honey, it doesn't have that in there.
So for those of you guys, spend a little extra on that honey. Go to the farmer's market. Go to the stores where they have, like Trader Joe's has stuff. Whole Foods has some really good stuff. So go to...
even Costco has raw honey.
I've seen the big ones, yeah. So the little bear, they're cute, but
they're not cute for you.
Put that up for the guest.
All right, then we got coconut oil.
Coconut oil.
And
Now, it came out white, but now you've melted it down?
I melted it down.
Okay. Why?
So melt it down. It will blend easier. It'll blend easier. So that's 1/4 of a cup of coconut oil.
And for those of you listening or watching, all these recipes, the whole recipe will be up on the Facebook page, so make sure you check us out.
Now it asks for the recipe. I always go a little bit extra on the cocoa powder, just to give it a little bit more of a chocolate flavor. But you can put 2 or 3 or 4 teaspoons of tablespoons. I'm sorry, of the cocoa powder. Then that's the baking powder.
Now, since we're blending all this, does it really matter in what order you put them?
No, you just throw them. The only thing that you don't want in the blender or food processor is your chocolate chips.
Okay.
Okay, and then we have the vanilla and then the salt at the end, and it's 2 teaspoons of vanilla.
And this is a Mexican vanilla blend, just to let you guys know. And if you ever had those raspas, you know the what do they call them? The ice cones. Not the ice cream cones, but the shaved ice. Yes, thank you, Angie. The shaved ice cones that they sell like in the Mexican areas, and they put that vanilla on top. She's looking at me like that's not good to eat, but I'll eat it anyway. And then they put the vanilla flavor on top. Man, it's so good. Right,
and then a little bit of salt, 1/4 of a teaspoon of salt.
Why salt in something sweet?
Oh, because it will add on to the flavor.
Okay. All right. So for those of you keeping track, we've done salt, vanilla, baking powder, chocolate, cocoa powder, coconut oil, quick oats, maple syrup, and a can of black beans. It has to be black beans.
Yes.
Okay. So
it has to be black. I mean, the color. If you have red beans, the color is going to come out a little weird. Just make sure you rinse them out really good.
Okay.
Now you turn it on.
For those of you listening, this is the blender going off. So that's the blender. Now, you can use a food processor to make it easier. Does it have to be?
It has to be.
So this is going to be about a minute of blending because it does it by itself. So,
It doesn't have a.
Talk amongst yourself right now. But you know it does. So you can use your food processor. You can really.
Okay.
Now, will you know by looking at it if the consistency is good?
Yes. It just needs to. The reason you want to make sure it's blended very well. It just needs to. That way it will look. Yeah, that's good.
That's good?
Yeah.
All right, guys.
So
for those of you listening
No.
No? Oh, okay. Our PA and our cameraman, thank you, Christian and Angie, for helping out, are signaling that she didn't put anything on the pan, but you did.
You can. I mean, you can put a little bit of the coconut oil.
You don't do it?
I don't.
Okay. Is it because it already has the oil in it that it won't stick, or?
No, it just the pan that I'm using doesn't stick. It usually doesn't stick.
Hardly don't stick. So you guys are checking it out. You can see the consistency. It looks like, I'm going to say it looks like runny beans to me right now.
You want to taste it?
But
taste the batter.
Okay. So this is a black bean brownie mix, and I'm usually really good at tasting stuff, but it's definitely, I mean, you have the idea in your head that you're eating brownies, so you want that sweet consistency in it. And it's not uber sweet, but you can definitely taste the cocoa in it. There's that little hint of vanilla. I personally think we'd add more vanilla because I like vanilla in my flavoring. But you definitely, I'm going to be honest, you don't really taste the beans in it. So, for those of you listening, folks, you're going to have to, trust me on it. For those of you watching on the YouTube channel, you can see that she's spread it out. And then you just throw those on there.
We're going to throw these in here.
So we're throwing the chocolate chips into the brownie mix.
You don't want to blend them. You don't want to blend the chocolate chips. And then you can put either just a little bit or you can put a lot. I really like using carrot chips just because they don't have as much sugar and they're not as processed.
Okay, you talked about those. What are those?
Carrot chips come from carrot tree.
Okay.
And it's been used for years. It's just not as processed and it's got lower sugar. But you got to be careful because you have to read the label.
Okay.
Because there are some carrot chips that have a whole bunch of stuff added on.
Okay.
But I personally like them.
So I hope you guys are watching this because it really does look like a regular brownie. And we have the oven. We forgot to mention the oven. The oven's been warming up since we were recording at 350 degrees. So make sure you warm that up. Get it going. And we'll check in a minute to make sure it still feels still warm.
Now,
okay.
To add on, you can just add extra little chocolate chips on top.
Can you add anything else? There's like nuts.
You can add nuts. I have done it with nuts in the past, just because I love brownies with nuts. It's my favorite. With pecans, my favorite.
Now you were telling me that you have your guinea pigs at home that try out your recipes, so we're gonna throw them into it. This tastes really good once you go into it. Anyway, who are they so we can say hi to them?
My dad, my brother, my boyfriend, and my 3-year-old nephew. Well, he's 4 now, so my 4-year-old nephew. Those are who I try my recipes on. They have no idea of the substitutions that I've made, and I give it to them. I serve it to them like there's been absolutely no substitutions done. And after the fact that they tell me that they like it, then I tell them, well, guess what? You didn't have real chocolate. You didn't have cheese, or you didn't have, I make an eggplant lasagna.
Oh, that sounds really good.
And they have no clue that it's eggplant instead of noodles until after the fact.
Now, there was another thing that I'm interested in tasting. You talked about your mashed potatoes.
Oh, I make these cauliflower mash. They are delicious. Yeah. Instead of potatoes, you use cauliflower. You can either boil it or you can bake them, and then you just mash it away. And you can add cheese. I add nutritional yeast, which is a cheese substitute. It still has the cheese flavor, but it doesn't have all of if you're dairy free,
okay,
then it won't have the dairy that you can't consume.
Cool.
I think we're ready. Do you want more chocolate chips on this?
Do we want more chocolate?
Sorry.
Christian and Angie in the background nodding yes.
All right.
Could you ever have enough chocolate chips in it?
So this is what it is.
All right. So for those of you listening to the show, it looks like a standard brownie.
Yeah. Now, depending on the pan, you can either put more, you can put less. You can also add sprinkles. You can add whatever you want.
For those of you watching, we were posing for the camera. For those of you listening, that little pause because we were posing for pictures.
And depending on the size that you want, you can have more. You can double the recipe or triple the recipe or cut it in half. That way it will, if it's just for myself, I will probably do half of this recipe.
Okay.
Just because I don't want to eat the whole pan.
No.
I mean, I want to eat the whole pan, but...
Now, do you have the recipe there in hand again? Can we read it to them?
Yes.
All right. So, can we pass this over to Angie? Can you put it in the oven for us?
We'll get this in the oven.
And how long is it going to cook?
It will cook for 20 minutes.
20 minutes. All right, cool. So we'll keep an eye on the clock because, of course, we're going to have to eat these before you guys are done. So just for those of you listening, for those of you watching, we're going to go over the recipe again. So get your pencils and paper ready. Are you ready? Okay.
Okay, so it's 1 can of black beans, or 1.5 cups if you make your own if you boil your own black beans. Okay. Just make 1.5 cups. Then 2 tablespoons of the cocoa powder. And then have a cup of the quick oats. A fourth of a teaspoon of salt. And have a cup of the syrup, the maple syrup. A quarter of a cup of coconut oil. 2 teaspoons of vanilla. And half a teaspoon of baking powder. I personally sometimes put a little bit extra baking powder just so it's a little bit fluffier, and also I usually put extra cocoa powder.
I think we should. And I was
because it's I like it chocolatey. And then what I usually do, I forgot to do it this time. I usually always taste the batter just to see like if I want. I don't know. Sometimes you want something more chocolatey. Sometimes you want something like you say you like more vanilla. So we could have definitely poured more vanilla in there. That's not going to change.
And you can add all the extra stuff. Because I was thinking, as long as you're using coconut oil, you could probably add some coconut chips or some coconut flakes to it.
You can put shredded coconut on it. Yeah, it depends on your flavor. I mean, once you have the base and you see that, you know, this is something that my family will take. This is something that I can definitely eat when I'm craving that, you know. When you're craving, when you're having that chocolate craving, this is a great alternative. And everybody has different tastes. I personally wouldn't add coconut flakes. I love coconut oil. I'm not a big coconut flake person, but I would totally add nuts.
These look good though.
I would totally add nuts to it. You can also, if you're doing it for like a kid's birthday party, you can add sprinkles because little kids always love sprinkles. It depends on what you like.
Alright, for those of you watching on YouTube, we're going to take a break right now, and by the magic of video, when we come back, the brownies will be ready. So we'll see you guys in just a minute. For those of you listening on, we're back, guys. So through the magic of video and a 20-minute wait, because we only made one. For those of you listening on the podcast, the brownies are ready to come out. And for those of you watching on YouTube, where you can see that Andrea is cutting into it. It looks like brownies. It smells like brownies.
Now, does it taste?
Now, does it? Yes, that'll be the thing. So we're gonna. Thank you, Angie. So we're going to do a little test here.
Nice and gooey chocolate.
Wow. So you can totally see that it's the consistency of it. And so we're going to give this a try. Now, I'm going to be honest. I'm not a huge brownie person. I'm not big on chocolate.
For shame.
So it's going to, if I like it.
Now what I do, I heat this up. Well, when it's not hot right out of the oven, obviously. And I put ice cream over it.
Oh. So what kind of ice cream? Just like
I read labels, so I get ice cream that only has milk and chocolate, let's say.
There's one right there. You get the colored rainbow plate. Alright, so should I go ahead and try this out?
Go for it.
Okay, guys. So I'm about to take a bite of...
Did you see that wussy bite?
That's not a wussy bite. It's a pretty big bite.
I'm just going to use my hands.
Oh, look, and it's Trader Joe's ice cream, too. So for the folks at Trader Joe's, almost everything that's bought here for this recipe is out of your stores. So, do you need a fork? No.
No, I can use my hands.
Okay. I'm going to say it's chewy like a brownie.
It's not a very thick brownie.
No, it's pretty
But
thick.
it just depends on how much batter you actually use. So have we used, for this size, have we used 2 cans and like just doubled everything, then you would get, you know, a thicker
version. But I think this isn't bad. I will say that I do get the slight, maybe because it's still warm, I get the slight hint of the bean in the background. But for the most part, maybe it's just me looking for it.
I don't know what he's saying.
Well, yeah, doesn't it?
That's my phone.
Excuse me, lots of beans. Doesn't it have to do with that these happen to be Cuban beans that we got instead of just straight up black beans?
These were Cuban beans, and they did have a little bit of extra flavor.
Okay. But
So you gotta make sure you get just your plain black beans. So there won't be like garlic or onion flavor to it. It will just be your plain black beans. We didn't realize it was Cuban beans until we were already doing it.
But I have to say, overall, this is a pretty good brownie.
It is. It doesn't. It's not. You're not gonna bite into it and be like, "Oh, this is healthy, gross." and
Right.
spit it out.
So I would totally, if you are a,
That's right.
we're passing this over to Angie, give it a try. If you are into healthy and you're looking for alternatives, I would totally recommend this. This is definitely something to, thank you so much. This has been,
It's a good alternative to your store-bought brownie or your boxed brownie, because it doesn't, I mean, you're bringing down your carb intake, so you're not, like if you're diabetic, you don't have to worry about, this is, oh my gosh, I can't eat anything sweet. You can.
Right.
You can still, indulge every once. I mean, don't eat this every day, obviously, but you can still indulge. Like if you have that craving, everyone every once in a while, depending, it doesn't matter how clean you eat, you're gonna want to eat something sweet one
Right.
day, and this is a great alternative to go.
so for all of you guys that are ready to go to your potlucks at work or at school or the family reunion and you're worried about making sure that your family eats well, don't tell them there's beans in there.
Yeah, they won't. The times that I've served this, I don't tell them, hey, everybody, do you want black bean brownies? Because people will look at you like,
and
they won't want to try
yeah,
it.
I think that's your mind is already thinking beans.
Yeah.
And it'll automatically want to find the flavor in it. But had I not known, I would not, because I'm not a huge brownie eater, I wouldn't have known the difference.
And I mean, the secret is really, you gotta get, I always like to put extra cocoa powder. I mean, I've mentioned it several times, just to give it more of that chocolate taste.
Awesome.
Because black beans don't, if it's just plain black beans, they don't have a very strong flavor. So it's easy to mess.
Awesome. Well, folks, again, thank you for indulging me in this new era of Put It Together. We're going both video and audio. So, but for those of you watching on the YouTube channel, you didn't hear all the conversations while the brownies were cooking. So you have to go to the podcast and listen to that. So make sure you go check it out.
On there.
Yes. We were able to sit down with, just to give you a teaser, we sat down with Angie, our PA for the day, and Christian, our DP, and answered some questions on both diabetes and how to eat healthier, which Andrea was very kind to answer. And there's some really good information there. So you missed it, you have to go listen to it over there. But Andrea, for folks who want to get in touch with you, either they've been watching or listening, how can they get in touch with you?
Okay, you can find me on Facebook. It's, Facebook / HFQ Nutrition. So it's H for healthy, F for fit, Q for quick nutrition. And or also on Instagram, HFQ Nutrition. I put a lot of different posts, information, little jokes, and you can always contact me like that.
I see the photos that you post on Instagram.
Put the food that
of the
I cook.
food. Let me tell you guys, just watching that, that's one of the reasons that I definitely wanted you to come over and taste. But this is not the last time that she's here. She's going to come back and probably after the holidays and give us some options on healthier stuff. Yeah. She's got, name a couple of the recipes you were talking about earlier.
Well, like the eggplant lasagna, so it's it's low carb, and if you take out the cheese, you can also make it dairy free. It can be gluten free. I also do sticky chicken.
Oh.
So that, what else have I done? I've done pho.
And you showed me the pancakes?
Oh, protein pancakes. Those are my favorite things to do every morning. And I usually make extra that way. The rest of the week, I don't have to cook pancakes all the time.
So she's coming over one day for breakfast to cook us pancakes. And so hopefully, if you guys are watching the video on YouTube and you're enjoying what you're watching, please like us, share us, just to let us know that you enjoyed the information that we're putting out there for you. If you want Andrea to come back and cook more food, let us know so she can come back.
I'll take suggestions if you guys want.
If
like a particular meal that you guys want to. Like your favorite meal, if you want to healthy it up, we can also do that.
And I'm going to think of some stuff that I like to eat and find some healthier alternative. We did talk about some of the stuff in the Spanish program. So if you speak Spanish, go to Corazon en la Mano. And we did the breakfast. We did the Mexican breakfast, remember?
We did.
So if you listen to Corazon en la Mano, the Spanish version, go check it out if you speak Spanish. We had an alternative to the Mexican breakfast, which was a really good alternative. There's no other word for it. There's alternative. But, like tradition in my shows is to send out some words of wisdom to the folks listening out there. And if there's somebody listening that says, kind of like I asked you earlier, I have a busy schedule, I'm always on the run, I don't have time to think about what I'm eating. What can you tell them?
Don't give up just because you don't, you're planning things out. If you stumble once, just get right back up and continue. You know, you have a plan, you have a goal. Just because you stumble once doesn't mean you won't reach your goal. Just keep going forward.
Awesome. And thank you so much for being here.
You're
I
welcome.
really enjoyed this. She's our godmother. This is the first venture into the new podcasting as far as combining video and audio. I want to thank Christian and Angie for helping out. Thank you guys.
Thank you.
I want to thank my producers, Mr. Kevin Moyers, Mr. Kem Harson. Thank you guys for your support. They don't know I'm doing this yet, but surprise, guys! This is the new part of it. This is where we want to go with this new the new year. Again, I've reached 100 episodes, and I'm really excited to keep going. And the reason that I did is because you guys listened to the podcast. Because you guys followed us on abnormalentertainment.com. You went to Stitcher, iTunes, TuneIn Radio, and you listened to us. It's because of you that put it together, Corazón en la Mano, and Vita Positron was able to reach high numbers of popularity in any of the stations. Because of you guys, I'm still in the air. So I thank you. It's because of you that I've reached 100 episodes. So I am utterly grateful and humbled. For now, I want to invite you guys to try the recipe at home. Again, it'll be on the Facebook page, so don't miss it. Just go and try it for yourself. I give it a 9, only because I'm not a brownie fanatic. I give it a 9 out of 10. But if I like chocolate and brownies, I would definitely give it that 10 number. For now, thank you, Andrea, again for being on the show.
You're welcome. Thank you.
The very first one on YouTube. For all of you guys listening, thank you. Stay tuned for the next episode next week. For now, this is Daniel Garza saying, hey, put it together.